Hey everybody, I am Jesse Dollemore. This is One More Thing. And today's topic that I want to address is something that happened on MSNBC the other day between Nina Turner, who is an Ohio state senator, not in D.C., but in the Ohio State House, and Jason Johnson, who is a political commentator and professor, not a dumb guy. And on a previous segment, Nina Turner had referred to Michael Bloomberg as an oligarch, and when they came back from break, they wanted to make sure that Jason Johnson had a chance to voice his grievance about that particular word being used for Michael Bloomberg. Now, before I get to the clip, which, by the way, it's about 2.5 minutes, so if you've already seen it, you can skip past it. But before I get to the clip, we are in the very beginning now of the primary process to pick our candidate. Both Democrats, us as Democrats, but also millions of independents who are going to be taking part in the process as well in opposition to Donald Trump and trying to find a new path forward for America. And I really would like to encourage everybody to be more open to hearing criticisms about your particular candidate, because nobody has it on lock. Nobody is perfect by way of policy or even past decisions that they've made. And, whether your candidate is Michael Bloomberg, I don't know why that would be, but if it is, accept some of the criticisms that are leveled at him. If you're a Bernie or Elizabeth Warren person, there are things about either one of those candidates that could be better. But on the whole, your candidate has to be right for America. So anyway, let's get to the clip of the aftermath of Nina Turner calling Michael Bloomberg an oligarch.
Close viewers watching in our last segment may have heard Bernie surrogate Nina Turner call Mayor Bloomberg an oligarch, to which our own Jason Johnson took exception. State Senator Turner from Ohio is still listening in Des Moines because she wanted a moment to respond. Nina?
Senator. Thank you so very much. It's just ironic to me that somebody would defend the wealthiest people in this country over the working people of this country. We need real campaign finance reform to the extent that a Mayor Bloomberg can totally finance his campaign. He doesn't have to go out to the people. He doesn't have to build a movement. He doesn't have to talk to people. He can buy his way. It is the same attitude that the elites, maybe Jason likes the word elite over oligarch, but it's the same attitude that the elites had in 1930 against FDR. All of them lined up against him, and he said, I welcome your hatred, because he was standing up for the people. And that is the same message that Senator Bernie Sanders has to the everyday people of this nation, that I welcome the hatred of the elites because I am standing up for you. So cry me a river for the wealthy people in this country.
Nina, you work for a candidate who's part of the 1%. I have no problem with criticizing the system that allows Mike Bloomberg to make all the money that he makes, the system that allows him to buy what he wants to buy, the system that allows him to buy himself into the administration and buy himself into the debates is a problem. But to call him an oligarch, I think, is a misnomer in this environment. And again, you're working for somebody who's part of the 1%. Do you call him an oligarch? No, you don't. You say he's a rich guy. Because just because somebody has a tremendous amount of money doesn't mean that they're not necessarily representing the people.
So Jason Johnson, who has a PhD from UNC, University of North Carolina, he's not a dummy. He's a smart guy. I presume he understands what words mean. He doesn't want Michael Bloomberg called an oligarch. The definition of oligarch is a very rich business leader with a great deal of political influence. How is Michael Bloomberg not a very rich business leader with a great deal of political influence? So much political influence, in fact, that he was able to buy his way, or it's likely that he's able to have bought his way into upcoming debates, pressuring the Democratic National Committee to change the rules surrounding the number of individual donors to your campaign. Something they wouldn't do for Cory Booker. Something they wouldn't even do for Tom Steyer. But they did it for Michael Bloomberg. Someone who's paying his staff, several staffers, $375,000 a year. Bills that are tens of thousands of dollars for sushi, paying for their living expenses. Hundreds of millions of dollars are being spent in ads. He's doing this out of pocket because he is so wealthy, so powerful. He is exerting his political influence based on that wealth. That is the definition of what an oligarch is. So to push back against it, I don't believe is intellectually honest. Now, Nina Turner is a state senator from Ohio, like I mentioned. She's also a Bernie surrogate for both 2016 and now this year. So she does have a horse in the race. She's taken up for her candidate. I just think it's odd to push back against that word being used for Michael Bloomberg. Jason Johnson wants us to criticize the system that allows Michael Bloomberg to do what he does and live the way he lives and not pay the amount of taxes that he ultimately doesn't pay because he's an uber wealthy person, but not the individual. Criticize the system that is corrupt, not the individuals who work within that corrupt system and continue to amass insane wealth. Two things can be true at the same time. The system can be corrupt, and also those working within the system and benefiting from that system can also be corrupt or adjacent to corrupt if you're not comfortable calling Mike Bloomberg corrupt. And then another oddity is when Jason Johnson tries to throw up this red herring that Bernie Sanders is also in the 1%. Bernie Sanders is also, it's part and parcel. Bernie Sanders and Mike Bloomberg, they're cut from the same cloth. They're both 1%ers. This is a salacious and ridiculous argument from a supposed intelligent person. Let's talk about the difference between the net worth of Bernie Sanders, which he just got from having written 3 different books. Bernie Sanders is worth $2.5 million. Certainly a lot of money. He's a rich guy. But to, in the same sentence, with the same oxygen, compare Bernie Sanders' wealth to Michael Bloomberg is sickening. Michael Bloomberg is worth over $60 billion. Michael Bloomberg's net worth is 24,000 times that of Bernie Sanders. 24,000 times richer. They're not in the same neighborhood. If Bernie Sanders was to spend $1 per second, $1 per second, he would burn through his $2.5 million in less than a month. 28.925 days. On the other hand, if Michael Bloomberg was to spend that same $1 per second, spend his money at that same exact rate, he wouldn't burn through his wealth in almost 1,910 years. What was going on 1,900 years ago? Well, Jesus had just died. So if Michael Bloomberg started 100 years after Jesus and started spending $1 a second, $1 per second, he would just now be burning through all of his cash. To compare Bernie Sanders to Michael Bloomberg, where it relates to wealth, is ridiculous. They're both the same age. Bernie Sanders is 78 years old. Michael Bloomberg is 77 years old. Bernie Sanders just came into the money that he has because of having written a book. If you want to criticize Bernie Sanders for being a millionaire and railing against millionaires and billionaires, I think there's some merit to that. It's not my argument. But there is a vast difference between the amassed wealth of Michael Bloomberg, who's like, he might be the 10th richest human being on planet Earth, to a guy who wrote a few books and made some money. It's a ridiculous assertion. It's a ridiculous argument. It's not intellectually honest. And we need to stop that. I think all candidates are open and free to criticism. When I have criticisms for Bernie, I talk about them. Elizabeth Warren, Pete, Kamala Harris, I had things to say about. Because no one's free from criticism. But come on, if you're going to make a criticism, make it intellectually honest, Jason Johnson. They're both 1%ers. He's in the 1% too. 1908.91 years at $1 a second versus less than a month. Less than a month. Bernie Sanders wouldn't get to the middle of March if he started spending right now. And Michael Bloomberg would almost get to the year 4000. Get out of here. Anyway, I would love to know what you think. Please, you can contact me, email me at onemorething@dollemore.com. Call the number there, leave a voicemail. I would appreciate if you would consider becoming a channel member for fewer than $2 a month. $1.99 a month, $4.99 a month. But there are different tiers. I send out stickers. But more importantly, you can know that you're helping to move the conversation forward. You can know that you are supporting independent media who, you're not going to hear some of these arguments. You're not going to hear some of these issues on broadcast news. Of course, this took place on broadcast news, but they like to take care of their own. And I'm not part of their own, so I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in the truth and having an earnest conversation about things that are important. So anyway, I will see you next time. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you.